If you have a Dodge 5.9 between the years 1998 and 2001 that is starting to be sluggish, when you step on the gas, it doesn't respond right away. When you let up on the gas, like at a red light or to coast, and it might actually stall or shut off, then you need to pay attention to this video because I think I can help you out. This is what I did. 2001 Dodge Ram B3500 extended van with a 5.9 gas operated engine and working on a throttle body, and these particular sensors will solve all that problem. Now, there's no guarantee. You might have a pinched hose or some other issue. But in this case, I knew for sure this was my issue because I was at 120,000 miles and I've had it since 35,000 miles, and none of that service has ever been done on this engine. So it was time to take care of this. And it was obvious these components, if they weren't failing already, they were going to fail, and it's a very minimal cost to fix. And you can do it by yourself. You don't need to pay somebody to do it. It's very easy to do. So follow along with the video. Let's get going. Okay, hello everybody. Today's adventure is going to be replacing the sensors on the throttle body. Back in the old days, it used to be a carburetor. Now it's a throttle body. Before you start this job, you want to disconnect the positive battery lead. You need to disconnect it anyhow to reset the computer. What you got to do is, first of all, remove this engine cover. And to do that, quick and easy, you're going to have 4 bolts. You can see I already removed them. One goes there, one goes there, and also on the opposite ends, one goes there, and one goes there. So you need to clean that up. And then you just disconnect your side mounts, which is all I've been using here this last month because I've been doing a lot of extensive work. My next step is to remove it from this side. It comes out easier if you do the driver's side first, as you're kind of pushing this in, and have your carpet loose and removed. It'll pop right out pretty easily. It's easier this way. Very easily. If you have any problems or hang-ups, it's going to be on the carpet. Now, as you can see, engine's nice and clean, isn't it? Yeah. It's always good to have a nice clean engine, especially if you ever have to ask a different mechanic to work on your vehicle. You want to have a presentable vehicle so you don't have to worry about it. And besides that, if your vehicle looks nice, it looks like you take care of it, which is another thing. Okay, next step is to remove the air cleaner, which is really simple. This whole job is really easy, so there's nothing to get scared about because each of these sensors just have 1 wire connector and 2 screws holding them in. And if you're in a Dodge 3500 van, a B3500, a 1-ton van, that's the extended model, with a gas engine, you're not going to have any problems or issues doing this. It's very, very easy. And there's our throttle body. But yeah, we're going to go and remove our canister that holds the air filter. We're going to go and take that and just kind of swing it around to the passenger side over there. So there we are. There's our throttle body. And here's each of our sensors. Here's the IAC, which is idle air control. Very important. Here, throttle position sensor, another very important piece. And in back, which is actually the front of the engine if you're standing outside looking at the front going towards the back. But underneath there, that's your MAP. So what we'll do first is unplug the sensors. And those come off very easy. It's just a little clip. This one's going to be a little struggle because it was a tight fit. There we go. And this one in back. Careful so you don't break them, but they should come off pretty easily. And they're all slightly different from each other, but that serves a purpose. It's so nobody gets confused later on trying to plug them in the wrong place. Okay, now that we're disconnected, we can remove each of the 3 sensors from the throttle body. If you have a chance to use a torque screwdriver, by all means do so. It just makes things easier. And these shouldn't be that tight. Just snugged in lightly. Once you get them started, the rest is easier. Alright, now your sensors are out, just set them aside. Time for the carb cleaner. And now take your carb cleaner and spray it really good. And especially around by that idle air control. It's going to be really dirty in there. But you want it to be nice and clean. Now you want to get the spotless, including the port the IAC fits into and the butterfly valves. Now I realize some people might not need to change all three. Maybe perhaps they just changed their IAC recently, or the TPS recently, or the MAP recently. And if that's the case, I understand. But in my case, it hadn't been done for life of the vehicle up to 120,000 miles. Not a single one of those three. So I replaced all three. Okay, this is our idle air control valve. And that plunger, you don't want to touch it. If it's this dirty, that's obvious that it's going to be sticking inside the little hole that it goes through. Once you pull out the IAC and see all kinds of carbon in there, on it, and then you see that it's in the throttle body where it places that port that it sits into, you really have to get all that dirt out of there. Otherwise, what happens is the new one will stick. So, you know, it's just things that got to be done, man. Okay, this is our throttle position sensor. It's not worn, but it's definitely not working right. It doesn't have the spring that it should. It binds and grabs in there. And sometimes it doesn't even bring it back to the position that it's supposed to. It's very sticky. See? Sticky. So you can't have that. And this is also original, as I originally knew. To test this, there is a way of testing it. And I'll show you in a second. But this proved to be bad. To start with, take your DVM, put it in the resistance setting, and check both leads to each other and make sure you have a small reading. When I compared this MAP with the brand new one, the new one, I always got a resistance reading, no matter which terminals I went to. When you do the two outside leads, we're getting a reading of 700 ohms. When we check the middle with the side one, we're getting no reading. And when we check the middle with the other side, we're also getting no reading. So this is bad. This is what's causing our problems. The brand new one was not doing that at all. The brand new one gave me a reading no matter how I hooked it up. So there you go. That's junk. And that makes sense. Now you don't have to go through and do all those tests. If you got 100,000 miles in the vehicle and your IAC is dirty, then obviously the port on the throttle body that it came from is going to be dirty. So you clean it out and you replace your IAC. If your TPS, if you're getting an engine code on either one of those three items, then you replace it. If your TPS is not working properly, you replace it. It's no big deal to do a couple bolts and put the couple bolts back in. If your MAP is not functioning properly, or you're getting the same symptoms, replace it. That's all there is to it. And then you go and put your sensors back on and hook them up. Make sure they click when you put them back in. Click. And that one also. There we go. And we're all good to go. Now the MAP, when you go to AutoZone, that might be about $80 or $90 for this vehicle. You might be able to find a cheaper China alternative on eBay or Amazon. I don't recommend it. If you do that, you're going to have to do a little bit of filing so that the part fits. Even though it's the same model number, it doesn't exactly match up with the fit to the connector plug. So keep that in mind. But we're all done. We're going to put this back together now. So when you put it back together, you want to be very careful and gentle. As you rotate this around, your first target is to make sure that you get that in. And that you get over that center bolt. And if you got a tree that's flowering next to you, you want to make sure you get these blossoms out of here. FYI, these are your fuel injectors. Please don't bump them. The wires are very fragile. Right in here, make sure that's in. In fact, go outside and from the front of the engine underneath the hood, make sure that that's in there right. You want that to be nice. And you want to make sure you're tight on the gaskets here. If yours is not clean like this, I highly recommend that you do clean it. If your air filter is dirty, I highly recommend that you replace it. Things go back together just as you took them out. And just go and put this back in just as it was. There we go. Now when you put this back on, make sure you find the right spot. It's pretty easy. And spin it on. And when you get down there, where it starts to snug up, give it a little shake and make sure it's in there nice and tight. And with all that in mind, I have to say, level of difficulty for this, there is none. It's super, super easy. There's no reason why anybody should ever bring their car to the dealership or order a mechanic and pay them $200 to change one of those sensors. Yeah, seriously, $150 to $200 to change that sensor. Each one, individually. If you're in there, you might as well get all three. And if that's the case, the shop will probably charge you about $300 to change all three. Or more. Seriously. Took me about 45 minutes. And that's because I've done it a few times before. I know what I'm doing. Hopefully this video will give you the encouragement and the self-confidence that you need to do those kind of simple repairs just as easily, because now you have the knowledge. Again, now when you put this engine cover back in, here's what I do. I just get between the seats, put my knees against the bottom, lift it up with both hands. I'm using one and one to hold the camera. And with your knees, it'll just pop right back into place. Just as simple as that. Now, of course, I'm not going to put my bolts back on. I got a few other things I want to take care of in here. Hit each of your latches. Give it a couple bumps with your knee and make sure it's in there all the way. Get your other latch. Fix your carpet. Make sure your carpet's not bunched up by your gas pedal. Sometimes you got to roll it back up underneath there. You can tell it. I've done this a few times already. Now that you're all done, don't forget you got to hook your positive battery lead back up. So go back out, hook up your positive battery lead. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that's smooth. Okay, this next step is crucial and critical, so please listen up and follow these directions carefully and to a T. Start your engine. You're going to be programming your computer, and that's why it's so critical. Start your engine and get it up to operating temperature. Take it for a drive. Get somewhere where you can get out on a country road or on a highway where you can get at least up to 35 or 40 miles per hour and keep it up there about 15 miles or so. And the reason for this being is that you're programming the computer and it's taking values from each of your sensors, new sensors, and reprogramming your computer. So yeah, you're going to feel all giddy and excited and want to stomp down on it and test its reaction time, but save that for your second trip, okay? Otherwise, you're just gonna have to do this all over again, and you can't really reset the computer when the engine's warm. You gotta start out with it cold. At least that's my experience. So follow those directions carefully. Do everything nice and smooth with a nice, steady foot when you get up to speed. No stomping down on it yet. That way everything's set perfectly, and then you should be good to go. Take care, folks. Have a great one. Extremely smooth. Success! Thank you all for watching. Have a great one. Take care.